Yo, YouTube, what's up? Just making another matchup guide. This time it's into jungle, and I figured I would break this into two parts. Not two videos, just one video, but I'm saying there's gonna be two clips, us versus this jungle, and then us versus a different jungle. And these two clips are gonna highlight one where if they go you, like if they train you, and then what to do if they train your rogue, because it is a little bit different. Um, so in this one, it's going to be if they train you, because that is what I think is the more common with jungles nowadays. It seems to be that they're going mages a lot more. So yeah, we can just start the video here. Um, let's see. So you want to obviously in the opener avoid getting flared out. You and your rogue both want to avoid getting flared out. That is like a huge issue if you guys are. So I just want to point out that my rogue does find the hunter, but this doesn't really change a whole lot. So even if you just don't get this sap, it really doesn't matter because the whole idea, I'll try to explain this here before it happens so that when it does, you can kind of understand. Um, Basically, we're going to just kidney the priest here and pop combust on him. This is going to force the feral to use his pet sack. Here, I can play it so you'll see. So we kidney, combust. Feral opens me. If the feral stuns you, you most of the time always want to trinket that stun so that you can continue to go. You can see the feral, what he does from stealth here is he stuns me and bashes the rogue. So you really just want to trinket this to continue the go. So what's going to happen here is that he uses Ross, which is good. That was what you wanted. Um, so then from here on, what you're going to do is you're going to blind the priest here and then swap to the hunter. And it's kind of your job to cover the feral. So I DB the feral and I make sure in this DB not to hit the priest. You can see, I'll back it up a little bit. I turn my camera to where I know I'm only going to hit the feral with it. So I DB ring the feral while this guy is blinded low. And then we stun the hunter and go the hunter with the remaining, you can see I still have bust up, so, and fire blast charges. You want to make sure not to like sink all of your fire blast charges into the priest so that you still have a lot of damage for this hunter. So then we swap him, and basically from this we get Roar Sack and Priest Trinket and Rapture. So and then the feral also had to use both of his stuns defensively, which is really good. Um, so I'm thought stolen. The hunter's getting kind of low, but he should be fine because oh, actually, there's something I missed. So when the priest trinketed here to save, I actually got the polycast on the thought steal. So one thing that happens, normally you want to try to fake the priest's death, right? Because the priest has Shadow Word Death, which they can use to do damage to themselves, which breaks the poly. But he actually thought steals me. So I noticed halfway through that I can't fake the death because I wouldn't obviously be able to recast my polymorph. So I just let it go off and hope he won't death it. It goes through. So we decide to continue pressuring this guy. Let's see what happens. He ends up being completely fine because the priest gets out of CC. He actually does get pretty low though. So they do their go. I managed to survive basically just with Triune and Altar. I'm probably going to end up canceling this Altar because you can see the weak aura I have tells me that I'm going to go back to 42%. And I obviously don't want to go back to 42% because I'm at 60%. So let's see. Basically, one thing as the mage, like I said, if they're going you see you can see that me and my priest were playing very close together. Um, this is basically just because since Celestia is playing Disc Priest, he doesn't have Chastise to be able to just immediately cross the feral. So I have to play on top of Celestia here, which basically just allows him to free fear. So you can see we're going to do this go here. Kidney the priest, fear the feral, cheap shot the hunter, sheep the priest. And then we're just doing a basic damage rotation with Ring of Fire and all of our Fire Blast charges. Hunter's forced to turtle. I DB there. My priest actually pre-domes because he thinks that he's about to get CC'd, which he actually does end up getting CC'd. So a lot of cooldown usage from the priest is going to come preemptively. You'll see that highlighted in the next clip as well. It's also up to you as the mage, where, let's say here, I'll back it up a little bit, 135 is where we are. So I want to go back to the first in-tim stun, because, so in this point, obviously I can't do it because I'm thought stolen, but like when your priest gets in-timmed here, the hunter's always going to follow up usually with a trap. I track trap, so you can see he does have trap, and my priest is in a stun. So in this position, you have a couple of things as the mage that you want to try to do. For one, you can try to DB the hunter. And obviously, I'm not saying in this case, I'm just saying in general, because I can't do it in this case because I don't have DB or poly. But in general, you want to try to either stack on the priest, like I would move toward and stand on him, so that the hunter would have a harder time aiming his trap, and maybe I can actually eat the trap. Or you can try to DB the hunter to the point where the stun will end before the hunter leaves the DB. What will happen there is, let's say I DB right like now, right? So the hunter's going to be in a DB for like 2-3 seconds, which actually allows my priest to leave the stun and get something, get a button off. Like he can either try to pre-dome or try to death, or just do anything. So try to create gaps between the stuns and the traps. So here, I'll just go back. Sorry, I got off on like a little sidetrack. Anyways, yeah, so we just did our go and we got turtle from it. Remember, after each go, you always want to scan, make sure you know what cooldowns you're forcing to help you plan on who to go for the next. Because remember, as RMP, you're not always just training one target, but into this particular matchup, usually you just swap around between the hunter and the priest. Sometimes you can go feral. I would only really recommend doing this if you had like a holy priest. But with fleshcraft, it can be a little bit more difficult. So their priest tries to pre-dome to go. We're just going to kind of wait it out. Trying to stop CC on my priest. Remember, I'm always playing on top of my priest so that he can get free fears. I'm always looking over here to see when he has fear as well. So my guy is in an in-tim. Remember what we said, we're going to try to do something to stop this trap, so I DB. But this hunter actually is pretty good, and he sees that I'm going to go DB, so he actually throws the trap even though he has a lot of time left on the stun. You can see here, he throws the trap right before I DB him because he knew that he wasn't going to be able to get it off afterwards. So that was good play on him. My priest just trinkets so he can fear the feral. You can see he trinketed there, fears the feral. So then obviously I go for the poly. That's my job. So I poly there. The priest PS's because you can use pain sup while you're in a stun. I bust into this, which is a giant mistake on my end. So that was a bad bust. Usually you don't want to bust into PS. So I opt to just break Feral's Fleshcraft with the rest of my bust, because otherwise it's, just a total waste. At least now I got something done-ish with it. So like I said, I'm cutting the Feral away, always trying to bring him to a bad spot, but also near my priest. So now that my priest has fear back, I start walking towards him a little bit. So he fears the Feral there. The Feral actually trinkets. So what I do here is I notice the Feral has no kick. So I go for a poly on the priest here, but we obviously get the stuns, but we have no cross on feral. So I just placed this ring down. It would have worked also just to use counterspell. I don't know why I went for like the fancy ring play, but and then we just kill him. So that's basically just the matchup. If they're going U. So now here I can actually bring up the other clip here. Okay, so here's the other clip. We're doing the same opener. Sorry, this one's a little bit worse quality. I had to take it from an old video because I actually haven't fought a jungle recently where they went my rogue. But some of them do, so you should still learn what to do when they go your rogue. But yeah, like I said, this is like an older clip from earlier in the season. But yeah, so I'll back it up a bit. So yeah, we're doing the same opener, combust on the priest. He Ross's. So what we're gonna do is blind him and go this guy. The positioning was actually a bit different since remember in the first game the Feral actually stunned me first, but in this game he stuns Oz first. So I don't have to use my trinket to continue the go. So we can see what happens here. So instead, since the Feral wasn't right on top of me, what instead I do is I pre-DB the Hunter. Since the Feral's on top of Oz, he's going to be able to just stun him for the go instead of me DB ringing him. So I try to pre-sheep, he uses Feign. Oz gets the blind and the stun. I ring off and then sheep off the blind, and we get Trinket Turtle. So basically the difference between this and the last game is the priest trinketed. In this game, the hunter trinketed. So both games, I would call that a win. You know, forcing out trinkets obviously is always good. So you can see the, I'll back it up a little bit to give you a little more context here on as to why I'm doing this certain poly. So this guy doors towards my healer, which is a really, big red flag that he wants to go for CC on my healer. So I start to sheep him. One thing I track is I track my priest's death, so I know that he has no way to stop this incoming trap. He did try to death it there, but I did sheep kind of like over top of it, so a bit unfortunate. I sheep the dispel, I get kicked on it. So I see him trying to go again, so I actually sheep on the bash. So this is another, like, remember what I was saying, like DB or sheep him so that he can't like use his CC off of the stun. So he does the half bash, but I sheep right on top of it, and this allows my priest to just get away. He uses fear on him, which he dispels, which is fine. And then basically my priest is able to pre-dome because we've all kind of, ran out of stops, right? So like he's on full DR, I can't really like peel or like create gaps anymore, so he's gonna get this trap. So he just domes before the trap, which is really good. Since the priest is playing really far from my rogue, when this is the case, like the priest is just playing on a pillar like this, it's kind of up to you to DB sheep him while your rogue gets the other two, and then he fears off this, and then you go the hunter. So here we can see it. I DB sheep. I actually don't have fear for that, but it shouldn't matter because I can just CS that regrowth. But since the priest trinkets anyways, this goes already pretty much over. He trinket domes. So we opt to just start playing a little defensively. Oz starts to kind of run behind the pillar. I'm just trying to like root pets and stop CC because you can obviously see our DRs are off because I track our DRs. They would appear right here. So we're off DR. They want to do their go. I'm sheep and hunter, CS and clones. The priest runs at him to get a fear, which you can see he got. So now what I want to do, since I have no sheep DR in this guy, there's two things I can do. His trap's coming up, and you can see here it's in 3 seconds. The fear has 5, so he'll have it before the fear ends. So I either want to DB this hunter to create a gap, or I can just try to eat the trap. The DB is a little safer. I opt to just eat this one. I don't know why I didn't go for the DB. I think I just was feeling confident. So I actually eat this one by standing on top of my priest. He uses his stun since he didn't get the trap, and then we do our go. He PS's this, so I don't think he's actually going to die through. Thorns, that's a buff you always want to try to be spell stealing. I actually locked the regrowth. Wow, okay, so he does die through. Okay, interesting. So let's see. He pre-PS's. Celestia can't fear the Feral off this because he's in a stun. So let's see what happens. I get the re-poly. We use all of our stun DRs. One thing to note is the hunter has no feign death, so we could actually channel this either of our Maledics here. So let's see if something goes on there. So we fear off. You either want to try to like pre-cast a poly if you don't have CS on this, because the feral has to actually come out of form. You can see he's not in like a form, so you can actually poly this if you pre-cast it. Or you can just use CS on it, which I do. Oh, sorry, I made some dots. Yeah, so I CS it, and he goes down. We actually still had both of our Mallies too, which we could have used. So yeah, we definitely had the damage to kill there for sure. So that was what to do if they kind of go on your rogue. I'd say the main difference is a little bit of positioning. When they go your rogue, you kind of always want to be positioned near their priest, so you can go for DB sheeps. And when they go you kind of want to always be on top of your priest, so that the priest can kind of just fear the feral off of you for free. The same applies even if you're playing with holy. And yeah, I think that's really the main differences. And on both matchups, you'll probably be in line of the hunter to go for those sheeps on his intim stuns or DBs to try to create gaps, which allows your priest to use death or a defensive preemptively before the trap. And yeah, I hope that you guys actually learned something about the opener as well. The opener is pretty crucial. And yeah, I think the next matchup I'll probably do will be Ret Warrior or Turbo. So be on the lookout for that, and I hope you learned something. So, peace.